an opportunity, an humble experience of being able to help people all across the country be able to learn and learn and learn. We believe that you can learn and never learn without coming to a place of earning what you're trying to learn. And here's the other piece that we would like to also be able to share is that if you believe you can, then you've already done. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. If you think that you can, you've already done. We believe mindset is everything. Carol Dweck, Dr. Carol Dweck, she talks about mindset. She talks about fixed mindset, growth mindset. And we believe that if you can believe a thing, it can be if your mindset is at that space. And tonight, we're going to get a wonderful opportunity to be able to introduce our last installment for our Women's History Month, for our Everyday History Maker, none other than Miss Nadyne Orona. And we are just ecstatic that she's here. Just get your seatbelt on. We are going to have fun. And I'm looking forward to us learning more about how we can become more philanthropic, how we can give back to our community and live our very best life. So I would like to introduce my co-host for today, Miss Leanne Ford. I'm excited that she's joining us today. She's a wonderful member of LDL Institute, brilliant in her own right on multiple levels. And we're just excited. So welcome, sis.
Good evening. It's such a pleasure to be here. Again, my name's Leanne and I'll be co-hosting along with Dr. Lakita tonight. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Pam Sterling and she's going to read Nadyne's wonderful bio.
Thank you, Leanne, for that introduction. So I'm going to read the bio of our speaker tonight. Nadyne Keela Orona. Giving back to the community is Nadyne Orona's mantra and mission in life. Inspired by her maternal native Hawaiian Irish grandmother and parents, she learned at a very early age the importance of social responsibility and helping people less fortunate than herself. She has passed on that knowledge and love of community services to her children and grandchildren. Nadyne was born and raised in San Francisco, but with her native Hawaiian culture upbringing, it was not unusual for Nadyne to have her favorite Hawaiian poi and lo mein salmon in her school lunchbox. She was not offended if her school friends made fun of her lunch cuisine because she was proud of her mixed heritage. She currently lives in Alamo with her husband and family and dog Bailey. They have 2 adult sons and 3 grandchildren who keeps her very busy, especially on her scheduled grandmother days every week. She is devoted to her family, friends, her love of all the nonprofit volunteer work she is involved with. It gives her the oxygen she thrives on. She was always shy as a young girl and still considers herself to be an introvert. So it is with surprise when she discloses this particular trait to people. Her desire was to become a social worker or SFPD officer, but her father encouraged her to test her skills in the new technology companies in the city, and she landed a job with Timeshare TimeNet, where the true first internet was conceived by providing ARPANET to the US government. She started as a network administrator and quickly realized where the money was made, in sales. She transferred into sales and quickly moved to upper management and traveled extensively. She never regrets anything during her career, but advises, don't miss your children's football games because at the end of the day, that is what is important, family and your children. After retiring in 2002 from her successful high-tech career, Nadyne created her own skincare line company called Pure Papa in 2004 as a hobby, which she launched in Hollywood at the Silver Spoon VIP private reception and the Emmy Awards in 2005. Pure Hapa became a favorite with the celebrities and movie producers, but her most personal reward was introducing Pure Hapa at her Honolulu launch party. It was at the Holy Kulani Hotel, which was her maternal grandmother's favorite hotel. The skincare creams were made from her grandmother's favorite remedies like the noni fruit, papaya, and macadamia oils. In Japan, they loved her products, and her client part was the largest retail distributor in Japan. Plus, in Hawaii, an online website. Pure Hopper also made its way to West Africa, Ghana. Her proudest moments, besides her family and promise she kept to herself for decades, her parents sent her to Oahu after high school graduation in the mid-1970s to volunteer at the Queen Olikalani Children's Trust Center. She was the summer intern working with the Native Hawaiian children from foster homes and or children whose parents were incarcerated. The inspiration she gained remained with her throughout her life. The promise was if she ever had a company of her own, she would make a significant donation to QLCTC, promised, sealed, and delivered the day after Pure Hopper launched in Honolulu. Her maternal grandmother always stressed to her while she was raised in San Francisco to never forget the unfortunate children and family in Hawaii. It was an ongoing conversation since the age of 6 years old with her grandmother, since she lived with them during her formative years in San Francisco. I present to you and introduce to others, Nadyne Orona.
Hi. Thank you. Oh my goodness, Pam. Boy, you are a native Hawaiian at heart and pronouncing all those hard words, but hey, bravo to you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very humbled and honored. Seriously.
No, the honor is all of ours. And we would like to thank again, Pamela Sterling, for the deep connection that she had with you. We wanted to look for someone that could provide information for our audience that is both mixed with men and women, but primarily to encourage women to be their absolute best. And so just to get us started with that absolute best, I completely fell out of my chair when we had our first meeting with myself and Brenda to find out how old you are. Like, so I really was like, not, yeah, I just was blown away. So will you tell all of Facebook and everybody that is there how young you really are?
Okay, I'm 65 years old and I'm proud of it,
Yes,
especially because when I turned 65 February 2nd of this year, I signed up to get my vaccine. So this is probably my proudest moment of being 65. Yes.
Right. And I wanted to do that because I know that you shared about Pure Hopper, which is the skincare that you had started, but I really loved your spirit, your childlike spirit when we conversed the other day. And I love the vibe. People know I'm very much about kindred spirits. I'm very much about energy. I'm very much about God. And I'm allergic to everything that's toxic, negative, and all of that. Right. So I really am. I literally break out in hives. I don't know. Even if I am negative with my own thoughts, I feel some kind of way. Right. But I thought, how in the world possible does someone look that young, be that young? And one thing came to me is that you really do have like a childlike, humble spirit. And I think about that verse all the time about being childlike and being humble and things of that nature. And so I just want to applaud you for just demonstrating, because I started thinking I better be a little bit more childlike, you know what I'm saying? I did. I went away thinking, if I never want to wear makeup, and I'm grateful I don't have to. There's some people that have to, but I just thought I need to be more childlike, more humble, more, yeah. And because you definitely have it. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I love that. I really do love that because, yeah, I am a child at heart, right? I mean, having a mother, if you ever met my mother, she was just amazing. I mean, even before she died, she says, can you please get me a coffin that could stand up so I could see who's visiting me during my funeral?
That's some kind of mother. Okay. We're going to have a conversation about that kind of mother. She was some kind of woman. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's like, stand me up. Right. I love it. Absolutely. So, Leanne and I are going to be piggybacking and team tagging tonight. And I just want us to have the best experience. And we sent you over some questions. They know me. I'm always going to pull some questions that are not on that list because I want to get to the heart of it. And those questions sometimes are too safe for me. And I want to get to the unsafe questions that are going to bring a place of safety for all of us. So just stay tuned. Leanne, you're on.
Thank you. Again, Nadyne, it's nice to see you again, and what a pleasure to have you with us this evening. So, I mean, to me, you look like you visited the Fountain of Youth. I am just floored by how beautiful you are. And so I kind of wanted to ask a couple of follow-up questions about the skincare business. You know, for instance, you mentioned that your mother's recipes or your grandmother's recipes, and it's Pure Hapa. Is there a meaning behind that name? And kind of how did you get started? Could you share kind of how that business got started with the facial skin creams?
Yeah, for sure. So this was a couple years after I retired from high tech, and we were in Hawaii at the time. And I thought, okay, what is my next chapter in life, right? Because even though I retired and stopped working for money, I still need to be vibrant. I still have so much to give, right? And I was sitting on the beach and thinking of my grandmother and thinking of all the noni fruit tree that she had in her backyard in Kauai and in Oahu. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do something tangible. I'm going to do a skincare line. You know, it's not high tech, because high tech, you can't see it, but you can see skin, you know, creams and lotions of that sort. And I put together names that my grandmother, like haupia in Hawaiian is a pudding. So I concocted this scrub, and I did it all in my Alamo kitchen. And the reason why I did this and called it Pure Hapa, because Hapa in Hawaiian means half Hawaiian. And I'm just, you know, celebrating my half Hawaiian. So I thought I'm going to put pure in front of it because it was botanical fruit extracts. And I did my research on it. And I just, you know, dedicated this to my grandmother and named, you know, all the different, like Hanalei, she's from Kauai, Hanalei Bay in Kauai. I don't know if anyone's been there, but I named one of the scrubs that. I have sugar cane in there and sugar. And so that's what I did. And not even knowing about, you know, the scientific factors of putting it together in a lab. So I met with 3 different labs, and the third one was a charm. I went to trade shows in Las Vegas. I learned everything a year and a half before I launched my company. And, you know, I had things shipped out of my garage, and I thought, okay, this is not sustainable. I better get I better get the lab to do my fulfillment orders. I hired an assistant. I hired contract salespeople. I worked with the e-commerce and the embassy in Japan to get into the Japan market. I worked with Oakland Commerce as well, and that's when I met the women from Ghana. She's a cousin of the Ghana president at the time in the year 2006. And they all came with their beautiful African outfits, and they paid cash. She put an order in. I was floored. She put a $25,000 order in, and she goes, "Can you do this?" I go, "Of course I can." Although, and I got on the phone, I got on my flip phone, right? Because we didn't have iPhones in 2006. And I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we did it. I hustled, you know, and we got it. You know, we got it to what?
No. This is why I think that you are an everyday history maker, because you're describing the essence and the anatomy of being a businesswoman and what it looks like, the entrepreneurship of it all. And so can you just kind of just share with them what you have to have mentally to stay in the game when you've got all the different pieces working for you or against you? You had to hire all these people. Stuff probably wasn't always working well, but how did you mentally stay in the game to encourage those of us that are in the game of building a business, whether it's from scratch or not? Tell us, what was some of the things that you did?
You know what it was? I saw possibilities. I never saw it's impossible. I never took no for an answer, because people would tell me, "Oh, you don't have the background. You can't launch this company." And I said, "Watch me. I have resilience in my blood. You know, even though I'm an introvert, sister. Right? You know, and when I saw this opportunity, because I just got along great with this Ghana, beautiful, tall woman, and she had all these, and you know what she did? She took whatever I had in Oakland. It was at City Hall in Oakland. She took whatever I had and I shipped the rest to her, but she took all of that, gave me cash. They paid cash, and she put it on her head. She stacked up all the boxes on her head and walked out the room. I just loved her. So she has a brother that lives in New Jersey. So we shipped the container to New Jersey, and then he shipped it to Ghana. Because guess what? In Africa, Ghana has the largest spa, retail, hotel. It's gorgeous. And their largest customers are people from Europe, from Libya and from London, and they go to Ghana, which I never knew, right? So I got
Whoa.
educated about what's happening in Ghana. And she was this cousin of the president at the time in West Africa.
Wow.
So yes, always think, my mother taught me always look at the glass half full, not half empty. So
That's amazing. Wow. It was like you didn't see the obstacles, you just saw all the possibilities. For an order
Yes.
like that, the vision that you had, your eyes were open and you were ready to be successful. That's amazing.
yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
And guess what? When I met the celebrities down in Hollywood, that was a time when Lost was on TV. So I met bad robot people like J.J. Abrams. I met the cast, some of the cast from Desperate Housewives. I met, guess who I met? Taraja P. Henson. I have a picture with her. This was when she just finished making that movie. Hustle and
That's
Flow.
awesome.
Yeah.
And she came by herself and she was telling me that she was really sick and I didn't know who she was. And we talked for 1 hour and I had no idea who she was until years later. I go, oh my God, I know that lady. So I met all these celebrities, but I met some, all the other ones. And they would ask me like, oh, well, we'll go with you to Hawaii, but you have to pay pay our trip. I go, are you kidding me? You're a multimillionaire. I am not that desperate to get business. I could get it on my own without your celebrity name. I won't mention who that was, but let me tell you, they know who they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so in thinking about, well, first of all, I love the fact you didn't mention their name, which speaks to something that we believe in a lot, definitely myself, integrity. So we have 3 core values that we believe in: sobriety, discipline, and intentionality. And literally, I believe that when you are sober-minded, when you are disciplined, and when you are intentional about what you're doing, it makes the difference. Can you tell us what are some of your core values and how you kind of map those things out for your life?
Yeah, I would say resilience is number 1, discipline, so we share that, and fun. You have to have fun. You can't go through life without having a laughter or a smile or a memory, because you can't, it's like you said before, Dr. Lakita, you don't want to be, always surrounded by toxicity or, negative energy, because that will really drive you, right? You need to be grounded in your faith and centered. You have to be very centered. And let me tell you, when I was in my 20s, I wasn't like that. I'm 65 years old, so I've earned the wisdom, right?
I love that.
Because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna lie to you like, hey, when I was 20, I had no idea, right? But when I'm 65, I've earned it and I'm still learning, like you said, learning and evolving as a human being. That's why we're put on earth. My story is not finished. I'm an unfinished product.
Right. Right.
Wow, God, I have so much that I could follow up with, but listen, I have a co-host for a reason. You're on, Leanne. I love this. I love the energy. I love to learn, and I'm learning something from the very movement of you being present. So I learned from everything that's going on around. But go ahead, Leanne, you share your follow-up.
Okay, so in your bio, we heard Pam read, we heard that you like to give back to the community, and that's one of your mantras and one of your missions in life. So outside of what you just shared, what are some of the causes that you're passionate about?
Oh, wow. I have so many. Before I met Christy Yamaguchi, I was involved with so many charity organizations, even Step Up Women's Network in LA. I went down to LA for that and I was spread out, but then I decided to tailor and focus more on what's important to me. And that's number 1 is Unlock, which is caring for the elderly, the frail and elderly, and they're based in San Francisco, Fremont, and San Jose. My mother was a participant, for 20 years there, and they took good care of her, even though she lived in our high-rise condo in San Francisco. Oh God, I can't talk enough about Unlock and what they've given me. So she went there during the day. She didn't like it. She thought they were a babysitter, because my mother, because I'm a child of an alcoholic. I'm not afraid to say that anymore, because I learned all the traits and navigated through my life of how to process things. And so I'm not ashamed of it like I was in the past, but I've learned so many things from my mother during those times. But Unlock is one of them. And number 2 is helping the children early childhood literacy through Christy Yamaguchi's Always Dream Foundation. I've been on the board for about 6 years. The last 3 years, I was board president. I'm a very proud member. The students that we serve are the Title I schools in the Bay Area and in Hawaii and in Colorado. And 2 of our favorite schools are in Oakland, Fruitvale, Allendale, and International. So we serve the Black, Latin, Spanish, Asian communities, so I'm very proud of that. And that's how we give back. And a footnote, my grandmother and my mom, they lived in Kalihi in Oahu. And so we serve a couple of the schools in Kalihi as well. So it's coming full circle because my grandmother was a school teacher. And now it's like, I hear her all the time in my heart and in my brain that I am serving. I did listen to her, that we are giving back to those children out there in Hawaii as well. And then the third one is at-risk teens and youth in San Francisco, Sunset Youth Services, a great organization founded by my dear friends, Don and Ron. And they've been there, for, 30 years or so, taking care of the kids out there. So, making sure that they're okay. Most of them go to jail, but she's right there with them. She's 24/7 working with the police force and the city to transform the kids and give them hope, right? So those are the key 3 organizations that I'm passionate about.
And let's talk for just a second. Here I go. You talked a little bit about mom being an alcoholic. And so there are criterion, and there are traits for those who are adult children of alcoholics and things of that nature. Why were you so shamed of talking about it? Was it because of the culture that you guys, you don't talk about it? Or was it the way that you were born and raised? And what was your turnaround point? Then why did you start being able to talk about it?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Boy, you sure know how to
unravel
and unpack it. Sister. You want to get real. Yeah. Well, I think growing up in San Francisco, I grew up with, a lot of my friends who I'm still friends with, Chinese American kids, right? Their parents are more like Donna Reed kids, right? Their mothers were stay at home, and my mother was a stay at home too, but she just happened to have the bottle, and my cousin who had a bar in North Beach, because my father was a merchant marine, so he traveled quite a bit. So this is why my maternal grandmother, I was so close because she lived with us during my formative years. But I was ashamed of it all the way up to, I would say, less than 10 years ago, because none of my friends had parents who were alcoholics. And, we never said we would have, back in my day, because I'm 65, we didn't say play dates. We just said, oh, who's going to play at, Nadyne's house this time? And I would always navigate and learn to say, you know what, let's go to Helen's house. She's got a bigger area, because we lived in a flat in Nob Hill, and our door, the mailbox, they would have the little slots. So I would open it up, pretend I'm looking for the mail, but I was really sniffing for the booze. My mother was a big beer drinker. And if I could smell the booze, I know she was just sleeping it off from last night because I was at school. So I turned it around. And, my good friends who I'm still friends with, they never knew until they were in their 20s that my mother drank. Yeah. And the turning point was, the turning point was, and I think I shared this with you, I took my mom to an AA meeting. Yes. She didn't know it was an AA meeting.
We went to a church and story. Yes. I'm so glad you're telling this story. Yes, tell the story.
Because I hit my rock bottom of taking care of my mom, because I was living in Maryland and my brother lives in San Bruno, but he would call me and says, we can't find mom. She blacked out. She's at St. Francis Hospital, blah, blah, blah. I would have to fly out to see her. And I go, I can't take this anymore. So I thought, ding, ding, ding. I saw the movie with Andy Garcia and that other actress. And she was an alcoholic in that movie. When a Man is Percy Sledge's song, but it was a movie, When a Man Loves a Woman. So I saw that movie about the alcoholics, and then about you take them to a meeting, right? So I go, I'm going to find out which church has it, right? I said, Mom, I'm going to take you to lunch in J-Town. And she goes, okay, great. So we landed up at this little place and she goes, this is not a restaurant. I go, oh no, I want you to meet some people. We sat around the circle. She had no idea. Of course, she was sober, right? And they go, oh, we have some guests. Do you want to introduce yourself? I go, sure. I stood up and I said, hi, I'm Nadyne Orona. My mother's an alcoholic, and I sat back down. And my mom, everyone was quiet because that's not how it's supposed to be done, right? It's an alcoholic is supposed to be asking for help.
Yeah,
So my mom,
right.
my mom with her charismatic personality smiled at everyone and she goes, oh, I don't know what she's talking about. My daughter's half Korean. You know how they are. They don't know what they're talking about. And everybody starts laughing and they loved her. And they said, you need help, Nadyne. You need to go to Al-Anon. And they were coaching me. And it turned around. My mom was in her glories talking with them. And when we left, she goes, well, that went well. It boomerang, it backfired on me.
Oh my God.
That's
Oh
just,
God.
Yeah,
Oh my.
but I think the turnaround was, I finally had a talk with her and I said, I will no longer be in your life. And she knew if I wasn't in her life because I took care of her, she would have to have my brother Percy take care of her. And she knows Percy's not going to take care of her.
Right,
So who's she
right.
going to count on? And she stopped cold turkey. She stopped smoking. She stopped drinking. But let me tell you, she was passively aggressive with me.
Ah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
whew.
I know.
I'm
It
kind
was,
of
it was
speechless.
funny when you first said it, and it's still funny
Yeah.
in the sense that we can't ask for help for others who need help for themselves. Let me say it
Yeah.
again. We cannot ask for help for others when they need help for themselves. That's mentally, that is spiritually, that is psychologically. And for those, you know how I feel about that
Yeah.
psychology stuff. We cannot try to get help for them. We cannot try to, that's emotionally, that's work life. If they don't want to do better, they're not going to do better, and we can't do it for them. So thank you so much for reminding us to never bring someone blindly to an AA meeting and try to get them some help. Okay.
I got schooled. I really got schooled by my mom.
You got school, and
Yeah.
it turned some stuff around. Miss Leanne.
But when you told that story, we laughed, but I really appreciate the way that you were able to establish some boundaries, though, that were able to assist your mom to make the choice that seemed like she needed to make without you taking her to the AA meeting. I didn't know they would let you in, but
I know.
but during your story, you mentioned a little bit about your ethnicity. And so I know that you're Hawaiian, Korean, and Irish, you mentioned.
Yep.
So is there anything you could share with us maybe about any multiracial childhood or adulthood racism that you've experienced? I mean, we kind of went from funny to serious, but that's something that is part of our society now, unfortunately. Is there something you could share with us on that?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the 60s in San Francisco, we're all diversified out here, right? And inclusion is big in the Bay Area. So I grew up with all different nationalities, but, back in the day, they never had, my nationality because no one really knew what I was. And I still, even today, they will ask me like, oh, where are you from? And I know exactly what they want to get at. And it's mostly, I hate to say it's mostly from white people. I don't hear it from my non-white brothers and sisters. Is all these white people. And so what I do, because I'm braver now, and I'll say, it's okay for you to ask me what my nationality is, instead of asking me where I'm from, because I'm from here. I'm a USA citizen, but where are you from, right? But but growing up, because they called us half-breed, and half-breed, remember that music by Cher? That was years later. Yes. They called us half-breed, and I wasn't even accepted in my own community, like the Korean community. So they had a Korean school in Chinatown on Powell Street. My Korean grandmother who lived in Hawaii wanted us to speak Korean. After we attended our regular, elementary school. So my brother and I were about 7 or 8 years old. We attended this school, and we didn't even last a week because they hated us because we were half and we didn't speak Korean. I go, well, yeah, because we're here to learn Korean. But all those Korean kids were so mean to us. During the lunchtime, not lunchtime, but after school, everyone would have food or whatever for snack, and they would throw kimchi at us. And kimchi is hot, right?
Yes, it is.
It's very spicy.
But I love it.
I know, but
Yes.
I vowed after that, we lasted 3 days and I told my parents, like, we're not going back. I am not Korean. I'm embracing my Hawaiian Irish side, forget the Koreans, and not up until like 10 years ago, I embraced my Korean culture because they were, I mean, even still today, I go to a Korean restaurant and I say, I'm half Korean if it's a new Korean restaurant. But if they ask me if I speak Korean and I said, no, I don't, they don't treat me very well, so there's racism within your own race sometimes. So I said, okay, that's fine, but I'm used to it. But it's sad, right? It's like, gee, they should get to know me. I'm fun. So
And
Yeah.
you are fun, but I think that Leanne is correct. Right now, we're in a society, and even at this very moment that this interview is going on, we've got this atrocious. I was watching the news where a 65-year-old Asian woman was stumped to death on the street by a stranger, and I just cringed, thinking, like, wow. And knowing about this interview that we were going to do, so with all of this stuff that's going on, and then finding out that there's more than 4,000 incidents that have happened over the last year, right? So it took one to actually say there's been 4,000 that are documented, and things have not been done to these individuals, whether somebody has tried to run her down. One of the CNN anchor men, he shared about his sister was ran down with a car and killed, Asian, and so in light of that, speak from the heart about the mixture of being Asian Pacific Islander, if you will, API is what it's called, and share where's your heart been with all of this racism, having experienced it in one of the most diverse cities in the world, San Francisco, right? So if you can experience it there, or how my mother would say it, if you can experience what you've experienced in a place like Long Beach or San Francisco, you can experience things anywhere and be your best. So tell us, how has racism shaped your worldview?
Yeah,
To
well,
be-
especially, yeah, thank you for really highlighting that, because that's on my wheelhouse right now. Everything about Stop Asian Hate. Christy's daughters created this new company and for T-shirts and stuff called Wa Asian Gang, but they never knew in their lives, they're short, they're teenagers, creating a hashtag Stop Asian Hate T-shirt, which they just did two weeks ago. It has rocked our world. I have never, ever experienced anything like this in our time. I have to change my thought process before I walk out the door. Yes, I live in Alamo, right? But when I go to Pleasanton or San Francisco, I have to think twice. I now own pepper sprays and emergency alert devices. I never had to do that. And now, if I'm walking my grandbaby, Kiana, even in Pleasanton, even though, that's still sort of diverse too, I cannot wear my my AirPods, right, to listen to music while she's sleeping in the stroller, because I have to make sure that I am on point, right? To make sure that no one's going to come and drive by and do something to me. So we are living in a very dark time. It's just like last year, George Floyd, right?
Yes.
Black Lives Matter, and all I could say is I want solidarity with my white, Black, Asian, Latin sisters and brothers to come out and shout out, and you're with us. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because we have to do something, because it's on the news every day, almost, sadly to say. And you're right, the New York situation that happened with that lady and the man closing the door, like, no, help us. I know people are afraid, but don't do that. It's like, I am the first, will not be afraid for my life, but I'm more afraid for my grandbabies. If I'm by myself, let me tell you, I will go down. No, I will go down, although, although, with that young girl, she was coming back from church. It was on Polk and Bush Street, dragged, like, let go of your purse. It's just material stuff. Let go of it. She could have got killed, I'm not stupid either, but I will not stand by and see someone being, harassed or attacked. And you know what, even though it's happening today, the Asians have been discriminated against for decades. Look what happened to the Japanese internment. They put away the Japanese. Did they put away the Germans? We're fighting against the Germans. No, and look at the Native Hawaiian, my people. Our land has been illegally stolen, right?
You got it right.
And our young Hawaiians have been killed Okay,
Yes.
there's in the history. People need to know the history. So in school, they don't teach about all the different nationalities, right? We don't hear about that. We hear about Christopher Columbus and Mayflower. No, no, no. We have fabrics of life, right? We have all the different nuances and all the different people of all different race, religion, and creed. We need to teach our children in the public schools and have books out there and teach them and shout out loud. More movies, right?
Yes.
We need to have more Netflix movies, you
Yes.
know? So yeah, I mean, it has rocked my world. It changes how I think. I tell my family and my young, you know, my daughter-in-law, my sons, you know, just be aware, out there, you know, and help each other. And we're doing that. I'm doing that with my young generation friends in Oakland. You know, you'll be surprised. To stay tuned for that. So
Yes.
Oh,
Well, you know, I will
Yes.
say, you know, I think that's where we have the commonality at. I think as I was just listening to your story, you know, I'm troubled. I think I've seen all the different people. I sit on the board of the Oscar Grant Foundation. So I'm a board member there with Reverend Wanda Johnson, who's the mother of Oscar Grant. And so in our conversations and looking at how we look at equality and justice and what my role is and what I can bring as a board member, I'm thinking about the parallel across the board with Breonna Taylor and Eric Gardner, whose mom I know as well. We had her to come out and do, you know, a conference and all these things, but there's a commonality. No one, it teaches us our history. Therefore, we're lost in their fabrication of their lives. And I'm a big person in sharing, telling people where we're from, what we're doing, and how we got there. Matter of fact, there's one LDL member, her name is Cassandra Howard, and she's a playwright, and she is phenomenal in capturing stories of diversity, stories of different things. And I would love for her, hint, hint, Miss Cassandra Howard, to maybe co-produce something where we can snag Miss Nadyne in there and maybe get some of those of you who've ever wanted to be actresses that we can get you all on the stage. I'm planting the seed right here live, but so that we can really talk about the pain of not being able to be true to yourself. I think that's, I think why I love you so much, and why I love this work, Nadyne, is because there was a time and period, I think we all were not true to ourselves. And then we kind of emerged and evolved. And for me, it's been all God. I'm nothing without him, really.
Yes.
You know, if his spirit doesn't blow on me, I really am just like anybody else. But because his spirit is in me, I am unique. I'm a royal priesthood. You know, I have been called out of something into something with something. You know what I'm saying? And so I just feel so connected to your story. And I just think, and I just want for Facebook land to hear my heart. I think that we cannot do a bunch of talking anymore. I think that Nadyne said something very clear, that even believers, I don't think we look at very well. We're in this life in Christ. We want to live, but have you ever thought that you are in this life to learn about dying? And have we really, see, Dr. Martin Luther King, he learned it. I don't think he wanted to necessarily die. His, you know, people that are around him, and now reports are coming out and psychological reports and stuff like that. I think he just had to make a resolve within his soul. He was going to have to. He knew too much not to know that he was going to die. And I think we just have to look at the posture of how we want to be history makers. You know, not just in word, but also in deed and in substance. You know, I felt you when you said, hey, I'm not so much concerned about my life. I'm concerned about my grandbabies. And I felt you with that. And I thought to myself, you know what I'm saying? So I just want people to look at this whole thing that's going on with the trial that's making me sick. You know, I hate the whole trial that's going on right now with George Floyd. I hate that they keep replaying the 65-year-old Asian woman getting stuck to the ground, you know. And I thought to myself, and nobody helped. Just FYI, they did suspend the workers. Those workers,
I heard that in the building.
And they should have suspended them for not helping or calling for help. So,
but then bravo to those witnesses when that's happened to George Floyd, all those young people that was on the side telling them, stop it. The firewoman that was doing the same thing. It just, oh my God, it breaks my heart. But yeah, you're right. I was watching it, the snippets, and I was getting angry, and I thought I had to turn it off because I had to get ready for this, for, for you,
Right,
to really compartmentalize and say, okay, I'm here for a purpose, but
Yes.
yet that is still behind my mind. It's like, come on, people. I reached out to my white friends, and I said, I hear crickets from you guys. And even, my cousin in San Diego too, like teaching him, don't say all lives matter, because that's a code, don't say that. It's Black Lives Matter, and I sent him this article. So he got educated on that just yesterday because he put something on my post. I go, please immediately take that down, because I'm not afraid to call people out. Right?
I love her.
Because it's diminishing Black Lives Matter. It's like Kaepernick in the 49ers day.
Yes.
I was the one that's saying this is wrong. He's not saying he's against the flag. It's about what's happening, the brutality. People forgot that, and it's like, you guys, come on, know? So yeah. So, hey, 65 going strong. I've got more.
I love it.
She's on fire. She's on fire.
She is on fire. I love it.
So based on what we were just discussing and the heartbreaking stories that are in the news and the injustices that we're seeing across the board culturally, what advice would you give our young people or youth in reference to the importance of like social responsibility?
I have to say, last year, I mean, we all know this young generation, they are so sophisticated and savvy. Right. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, TalkTik, whatever you want to call it. Seeing them out and in 2020, the young people coming out for Black Lives Matter, seeing the young white kids, the Asian kids coming out, even in Alamo, they're holding the signs up. That gave me hope and light that this generation is going to change the world. I will talk with them and say, what do you want to see? They go, oh, I don't know why this is happening. I said, change the world. I tell my 13-year-old granddaughter and my 11-year-old grandson, this is your opportunity. You could change it. And they go, why is this happening? And I said, I don't know why it's happening, but guess what? There's a purpose. There's a reason why you are put on this earth. My granddaughter made 20 artwork painting. She sold it to my son's friends, and she donated it to Black Lives Matter, because that's how important it was. So I know I'm doing the right thing of encouraging them to give back and to understand, right? My son took them out of a Catholic school because guess what? That Catholic school kicked out African-American little boy years ago. Okay. Then they kicked out a Muslim family maybe 2 years ago. So my son took them out, put them in public school. I go, enough is enough. I go, your action speaks louder, right? Is that you cannot sit back and watch this. So I have hope for the young generation. Like my friends Nicole and Yvonne, they're like in their late 30s. They're working to make tangible, situations for the Asian hate situation in Oakland, to get pepper sprays or emergency devices, working with nonprofits, some big name nonprofits that we're still working through that process right now with them. They're giving back. Christy Yamaguchi's teenage daughters, they're giving back because they're not going to stand by. They're not going to tolerate. My grandchildren, my daughter-in-law, I call her daughter-in-love. She's Korean, born in Seoul, Korea, but she's a pharmacist, educated here, and she traveled and went to high school in Scotland with her father and her mother, because the father worked for this big South Korean company called Hyundai. Last year, when everything was happening, she wanted to educate herself because she was never, seen any of this. So she educated herself. She bought books. Her and her friends bought books to educate themselves about what was going on, with the history, the slavery, the racism, systemic racism. And she's educated about it. She wanted to find out, why are they doing this to someone? And isn't that amazing? That's a young generation. So I have hope. But the other thing I would say, I want the young generation, when they go out to work at corporation, pick those corporation that has a culture of social responsibility. Hold those CEOs feet to the fire. And if they don't have a social responsibility clause, ask for it. Do not be bold, right? And impact the world. and you don't have to design and be like the next Steve Jobs, but we need to educate United States of America. People are looking at us like we are crazy, right?
It's true.
And it started with this crazy Trump guy, which my friend Brooke Lee knows him because she was Miss Universe. Let me tell you, it's like what Maya Angelou said, right? When you meet someone, it's who they are, right? Believe them who they are first.
Yes.
And it's like, no, people say, oh, he's going to change. Are you foolish? Are you kidding me? No.
And one of the things I think that's so important, and this is why I believe you are, to us, an everyday history maker, is because you do share the wisdom of being 65. You have seen the gamut and the length of time in which you have moved from one space to the next. I think one of the things that's important for us to get across to other people is, number one, find your voice. As I'm listening to this interview be played back again, we are only here because somebody found their voice. They found their voice and they refused to let it be held hostage by the voices of others. And that somebody was me. I found my voice and I decided I was going to go all in, and grateful to God that started when I was 15. I'm a little bit nervous for people who, one, don't know what their purpose is, and we can help you at LDL Empowerment Institute. I don't care how old or young you are, and who doesn't have a real healthy understanding of who God is. And we can help you with that too, because I think that it's important to know why you live, but it's also important for why you're going to die. And I think that speaking of death and loss, you had a loss. I mean, your mom, was an alcoholic and then she ended up dying, but you have a son that passed away as well. And I bring this up because you were a mom, you were a high-tech corporate mom, and all these things happened. How did you deal with the death of your son, still remain corporate, still remain all of that? How did you move through that pain and loss?
Yeah, right now, when I'm listening to that question, I have to really think strongly and be very mindful not to be emotional about it, because
it's okay
obviously
if you
it's very
are
emotional.
Yeah, we'll give you some virtual
Oh no,
tissue.
I can't. No, I can't mess up my makeup. Then I really look 65.
I love it. Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I can't let my eyelashes come off. So let's keep the tears in the tube.
Keep it real, yeah. But yeah, so my mom, that rocked my world when she passed away. That it's going on 6 years this year in November. You know what I learned from that though? I learned forgiveness, and I learned to unpack my shame. I really did.
Let's just sit with that for just a second. When you just said it, let's just sit with it. I know Facebook, you guys know me as the people's therapist, and we're not having a therapeutic session, but we always have a therapeutic session with me. Forgiveness and unpacking shame. So let's just sit with that for a moment. Yeah. Just for a moment. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah. And so, I miss her every day. I mean, when I have a bad day, I think of her because she had the best humor. In Rascal in Hawaiian is kolohe, and she was the kolohe of the family. People loved her. Everyone loved her. My family and friends. My brother from another mother, EW, Eric Wright, former San Francisco 49ers. I've known him for 16 years now. When he first met my mom, and my mom's a jokester. She goes, okay, and she knew who he was. And she goes, oh, Ronnie Lott, nice to meet you. And he goes, no, I'm, ma'am, I'm Eric Wright. And she goes, yeah, same thing. And she walked away, but he loved her. He calls her mama. He came to her funeral. That's who she is. So she helped me again to look at life and the glass half full. Never take yourself seriously. Kill them with kindness if they're mean to you. Think of it another way. She always embraced everyone, even though, if they were mean to her and they talked about her, she was always there. So I learned that from her, the resilience. With my son, Jason, is my stepson, Lonnie's first son. That was really hard. That rocked our world, and again, it was forgiveness. He was suffering, from meth, and he committed suicide. And the way I'm saying it, I'm whispering as if, as if I'm keeping it a secret. But you know what? Sharing my vulnerability, if I could help another person out there, because of the social stigma with suicide. I lost another friend 2 years ago from suicide. We don't talk about it,
Yeah.
and it's real. And,
Yeah.
and it's so, and we don't forget him, but it's like a heart, I know he's not suffering anymore, but, he was a good human being. He just got lost, but let me tell you, I learned about incarceration too. I learned about navigating and finding out, there is prejudice, there is disparity, real up front and center, right here in the Bay Area, right? And it's a system that we've got to crack, and with this new president and Vice President Harris, I hope that we could change the world in the next 4 years. We need more of the Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
We
Yes,
need
we
so
do.
much more.
Yes.
Because Jim Crow's coming back and it's
Yes,
still
it is.
alive. And it's like, come on, people, wake up.
Yes.
This is like God is telling us, you better wake up.
Yes.
Gather together, all of us people that he's made,
True.
champion each other, because we can't be separate fighting our fight. You can't just be Black Lives Matter, stop the Asian thing or whatever. We need to come together, as people. So.
And you mentioned Stacey Abrams and then talking about your son and suicide. And for those you guys know, you can go to our resource mhicnow.org. We specialize in looking at suicidality and depression and things of that nature, and just doing mental health in the church and how do you introduce mental health to faith-based organizations and youth talk out and things of that nature. And I loved how you talked about how you were whispering, and you were only doing what we do in the society. We kind of whisper our way through when it concerns a mental health issue or situation that's kind of like tabooish. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you took your life, you did this, that, and the other. And we had an elder that took their life in our church a couple years ago. And it was just, over the top. But I think that this, like you said, the resiliency, it makes you resilient, but it makes you look outside of yourself. Your strength is bigger than yourself. Your strength is God. Your strength is remembering, who came before you. And so I just wanted to applaud you just for a moment of just walking through the stuff and not getting lost in the stuff. So many people get lost in the stuff. And thank you for not being lost in the stuff.
No. Thank you too, because I think this platform, because it's public and it's live. And I thought, if I could help another family out there, if I could help another parent or a sibling, because it's still obviously the way I whispered it, because it's not talked about in our family. A lot of our friends don't know about it, now they know about it. They know my secrets, if you will, but I need to share it because I wouldn't be me if I was hiding that part of my life. You know what I mean? It's too much angst. It's like, why do I have that heaviness? You know? If I could bring out the light.
And we can't, because you said, listen, forgiveness, and you were unpacking shame. So we just we helped you unpack shame a little bit faster. So we took the shame off of suicide. Yes. See, that's what we do here. So
I know
they're serious about what they do over there at LDL Empowerment Institute. You gonna get rid of your stuff and walk through it and be okay with it. But seriously, that is what we're hoping to create for the Institute, a safe place for brilliant women all around the world to land their feet at, to come and get replenished. And I believe that if you repair your mind, you can repair your mind, your life. I was working on some stuff today and realized repairing your mind repairs your life. It changes the game.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
So we're excited. Hey, Miss Leanne, do you have any other questions you want to share with our guests? And then,
Sure. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed at your transparency. You are a very strong woman, resilient, just courageous. And I read your bio before, but to sit here and to listen to you, you're so inspiring and encouraging to, I'm sure it's just not me, but everyone who's listening. And you've had some tragedies in your life, but you've had some great successes in your career, as well as your skincare products. Just Superwoman. I'm just gonna, call you Superwoman. You got your tights and your cape. I mean, come on, Superwoman. So is there, getting kind of back to the light side of it, is there anything else like you want to accomplish in retirement? Anything else? Any other goals or visions you have that a vision that you want to accomplish or achieve?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us.
No, I mean, I'm right now, I'm in the process of writing a book for my family because my older grandchildren, wanted, they always ask questions because they knew their great grandmother, and they loved her, and, they're always asking questions. And I thought, oh, I think I'll put pen to paper to write about my formative years in San Francisco and all the different, hills and valleys, and even up until current events. The other thing is I want to continue learning and evolving as a human person, right? And being, I want to watch my grandchildren grow up to be adults and make sure that they give back and they have the love and fostering of giving back to the community. So we're just passing it, paying it forward, right?
Yes.
And also, I think my greatest accomplishment is not my professional high-tech career or pure hobby. My greatest accomplishment is my nonprofit work, is being a volunteer. It really is volunteer for, and watching those kids out there and the parents struggling along and helping them, because the gap is getting wider.
Yeah.
The gap should be getting smaller. So with every oxygen, breath, and everything in my being, I want to help, make the history making and the change maker to narrow that gap, because we have problems right here in the Bay Area. And I want to see the Israel's of the world who's in Allendale School. He's about 7 years old. I want him to be an astronaut. I want to see these kids, be the next president of the United States, right?
Awesome.
So that's what keeps me up at night. It really does.
Awesome. So encouraging. So very encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, thank you.
Listen, I could go on and on, just sharing and getting information. But I think what I would like to do just before we leave, because I want people to always have a call to action. I am about motivation, inspiration, transferring, training. That is really my epithet. That is what I'm about. But the press that God has given me for my life is that people don't just watch this. And I want to congratulate all of you Facebook folks. I've been looking at your comments, and thank you guys for joining us, and that you guys are loving this particular interview. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I want to challenge you right now, you Facebook folks. and absolutely, I'm the challenge girl. I'm the challenge queen. So I want to challenge you for a call to action. And I want that it's not just this call to action. It's every time you hear information that makes you think, you need to leave with a call to action. You must leave with what are you going to do? And so I want you to keep that in your head, but I'm going to ask Miss Nadyne if she would come back and share like you are sharing to the 1 million women that we would like to impact. So by 2023, at the end of 2023, we would desire to have impacted 1 million women to be a part of our Walk It Off Girl program. And so that's what we're putting out there. We've got just a little bit over 1,000 women. I know that seems so far-fetched, but I'm a big believer, right? We got a little bit over 1,000 in 6 months. So those that are in the world out there, you need to get rid of the weight of the world. And you can only get rid of the weight of the world using a combination of both science and God. I think that God makes science look good, and science helps to explain that God is good. How about that? Did you heard that from Dr. Lakita?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love that.
And that this is what that download time with the Lord will give you, right? But I'm serious about it, that you got to get rid of the weight of the world. And so do me a favor, Nadyne, share with our other sisters around the country, around the globe, what would it really look like to be an everyday history maker with what they got right now inside of them, whether it's good, bad, or different. If you had 1 minute, 2 minutes to share to that audience of what they can do to be the everyday history maker, what would you share with them?
Wow, that's powerful statement. I love it all. I think right now, because they're on Facebook Live right now, they're listening to you, Dr. Lakita. They're crafting their time and carving out their time to be here. So that's number one, that they're doing it. But I would say, go out there. If you're shy and quiet, whatever, go out there and make an impact in the world, especially right now with the stop, Asian hate situation, I would say call to action, contact the AAPI, contact, all the organizations out there to see what you could do to help us. Cause we really need help, in solidarity, get research, about what's happening, contact me if you want, I could share my wisdom too, but be bold, be bold out there because you have one life, right? Make the best of it.
One life.
Make the best of it.
Oh,
Right?
one life. God is so much. And I don't know, is there anything that you want to share or conclude or say, Leanne? I just feel so, when you have that moment where you just kind of know that God has interjected and he's working something out. You don't quite know, but something is working out for all of us in a really powerful way, whether it's strength for those that are strengthless right now. COVID kind of wiped people out emotionally. We've gone a whole year and some people are really trying to get their bearing. And so I want to encourage and thank you, Miss Nadyne, for coming on here and bringing your strength. We can feel your strength. And I'll be going to Hawaii next month, me and my children. So we need to hook up with the peoples May 11th to 18th, honey. Yes.
Okay.
Honey.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You have to meet. Yeah. I'll introduce you to
Absolutely.
people. Yep.
Yes. And I'll say, I'm your sister that you didn't know you had.
And you got to learn the
Absolutely.
shaka sign. Okay.
Yes. That's right. But, so I just want each person as we are getting ready to just kind of take a look and getting ready to end this time, but we don't want you to end the moment or the experience. Those that know me, I'm big on experience. Experiential knowledge is great to have. And then learning how to hold that experience, how to hold good conversations, how to keep them close. And we pray that you've heard something, you've been inspired by something, that you have felt the genuineness of it all, so you can take action just even a little bit in your life to gain back whatever you feel you might have lost or you don't have. So I, Miss Leanne, do you have any words that you would like to share before we go?
I'm just almost speechless. Those of you that know me know I can always have something to say, but I just really want to thank you, Nadyne, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and your insight. And again, just being so transparent and sharing your life stories with us. You are truly an everyday history maker. We appreciate you sharing your time with us. I look forward to the book. I'm all of a sudden book. So you said, but I thought earlier, I wonder if she has a book. Now you said you have a book. So that was spoken into existence. So I look forward to reading your book. It was a pleasure to meet you. I just thank you for your inspiration and again, your transparency and just sharing your life with us and your evening with us tonight. So thank you very much. You're beautiful, beautiful spirit. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for the invite. And thank you to Pam for making that introduction too. Pam's my girl. I've known her for 30 years. So
and that's a true connection. And we would also like to thank Miss Brenda Moppins for doing all the legwork and the footwork of connecting the dots with Nadyne and doing the pre-interviewing and all of that stuff. And so she was not able to be with us on today, but she's rooting us on Facebook loud and clear. And she is in her Brenda style. She, makes you feel like she's right here with you. So we also like to thank our support team in the form of Shalene Booker. We appreciate her. And to all the LDL Empowerment Institute members and those that may want to be an LDL Empowerment Institute member, you should go on over there at ldlempowermentgroup.com. There's some wonderful things that are going on. If you don't find what you're looking for, you just haven't looked hard enough, because it is there. I promise you, it is there. I can't guarantee you much, but I can guarantee you God sent us. And if God sent us, he's given us provision for those that come hungry, looking for something to eat. So God bless you guys. God keep you. I love you. It has been my joy. I'm your host, Dr. Lakita, and Miss Leanne, and to our fabulous everyday history maker, Nadyne Orona. And we love you so much. Ladies, listen, have a fabulous evening and just be blessed. Remember, the call to action requires a yes, and it requires a changed mind. And we know what happens when you change your mind. Much love, and God bless you guys so much.